The night was cold and silent in Neo-London. The year was 2345. Neon lights flickered through the cracks of broken buildings, painting the empty streets in blue and gold. Inside a small room on the 88th floor, a young woman named Mara Gray sat on the floor. Staring at an eviction notice, her rent was 3 weeks late. Her oxygen credits were almost gone, and the sound of alien patrol drones buzzed outside her window. Once, Mara dreamed of being a scientist. She loved studying stars and the mysteries of life beyond Earth. But dreams were expensive now, and humanity was poor. After the Galactic Peace Treaty, humans were allowed to live among aliens, but not as equals. Aliens ruled the cities, owned the towers, and humans cleaned their labs, cooked their food, and obeyed their rules. Mara worked as a cleaner in an Aurelian research facility. The Aurelians were tall, silver-skinned beings with golden eyes that looked through humans like glass. They were known for their intelligence, but also their pride. To them, humans were only assistants and useful but replaceable. Every morning, Mara walked through long metallic corridors with her cleaning pod. She watched scientists discuss strange alien machines, glowing liquids and weapons powered by stars. No one noticed her. No one spoke to her. She was invisible in a world that had forgotten how to care. That night, Mara's stomach growled with hunger. Her food card had run out of balance, and she had only 1 credit left, enough for a half bowl of synthetic soup. She looked out the window at the sky, where alien ships drifted like silver whales above the city. Somewhere up there, rich humans and aliens lived together, drinking air that smelled of flowers. While she was trapped down here, breathing recycled dust, she opened her old datapad, a cracked screen showing a photo of her younger brother, Leo. He was on Mars Colony 9, working in a mining sector. They hadn't spoken in months. The messages kept failing because of restricted channels. She whispered to the screen, "Don't worry, Leo, I'll find a way. I'll get you out of there someday." Just then, her device buzzed. A message appeared from her work schedule. "Emergency cleaning requested, Aurelian Lab. Sector 12, midnight shift." Mara frowned. Midnight shifts were rare, but refusing meant losing her job. She sighed, put on her gray uniform, and stepped into the night. The city streets were empty, filled only with the hum of alien lights and the whisper of rain. Neon reflections danced under her feet as she entered the high-security lab. Inside, the air was colder, filled with strange smells and soft humming machines. Mara moved quietly, wiping the floor near glowing tanks and metallic doors labeled with alien symbols. Then she heard voices. 2 Aurelian scientists were talking near the observation deck, their words echoing through the room. She froze behind a large power unit, holding her breath. "The gas is ready," one alien said, his golden eyes dimming. "The test will begin soon. We must ensure no humans know," said the other, his tone sharp. Mara's heart skipped a beat. They were hiding something dangerous. She peeked through a small gap between the machines on a large holographic screen. She saw a map. It showed a red circle around Mars Colony 9. Her eyes widened. That was where Leo lived. The aliens were planning to release a new kind of weapon, a gas experiment meant for biological evaluation. But she knew what that meant. Death. Her hands trembled. She almost dropped her cleaning pad. If they saw her, she'd be erased. Like so many others before her, quietly she backed away, every step careful and slow. But her heart was loud and her breathing shaky. She reached the exit door and turned off her ID light. Her mind raced. She wanted to scream, to run, to warn someone. But who would listen to a human cleaner? Humans had no power, no voice, only fear. Outside the lab, she leaned against the wall, her legs weak. The rain hit her face, but she didn't feel it. Her brother's smile flashed in her mind, and anger replaced her fear. She couldn't do nothing. Not this time. Back in her room, she pulled out an old holo recorder, one she had hidden years ago. It still worked, barely. She looked into the camera, her eyes filled with fire. "If you're watching this," she whispered, "the aliens are planning something terrible, and I have proof." She turned the recorder off and sat in silence. The city outside continued to shine, beautiful and cruel, and as the night grew deeper, Mara Gray made a choice that would change the fate of every human in the galaxy. The night was quiet, but Mara's mind was not. The words of the Aurelian scientist kept echoing in her head like a broken alarm. "The gas is ready. The test will begin soon." She couldn't sleep. Not when her brother's colony was in danger. The rain had stopped. leaving the city soaked and shining under the neon lights. Mara sat near the window, her holorecorder in her hands, the soft blue glow reflecting in her tired eyes. She replayed the scene from the lab in her memory. The red circle around Mars Colony 9, the cold alien voices, the quiet cruelty. She felt small, powerless, but something deep inside her refused to stay silent. Her father's old words came back to her. Courage isn't about winning, Mara. It's about standing when everyone else kneels, and she whispered back, then I'll stand. The next morning, she returned to the Aurelian lab, pretending everything was normal. Her uniform was soaked from the early rain, her hands shaking slightly as she swiped her ID pass at the security gate. Human cleaner Sector 12, she said softly to the guard drone. The metal sphere scanned her and let her pass, its red eye blinking coldly. Inside, the halls were filled with the hum of alien machines, the air heavy with chemicals and energy. She knew she couldn't record anything openly. The labs had security eyes everywhere, but humans had learned to adapt. She had a tiny recording lens hidden inside her cleaning glove. It was old human tech, banned after the war, but still powerful enough to catch sound and image. She moved carefully, cleaning tables and wiping surfaces while pretending to hum. Her eyes watched every reflection on the glass walls, memorizing every alien face and code. In the far corner of the lab, she noticed a new door, one she hadn't seen before. It was marked with glowing alien symbols and a red warning light. Two scientists entered using a strange device shaped like a crystal key. The door opened silently, revealing a white light and a low, mechanical hum. Mara's curiosity burned. She waited until the aliens left, then slowly approached. Her heart raced as she placed her hand on the door panel. Warm, alive, almost breathing. Suddenly, a quiet voice came from inside the wall. Unauthorized presence detected, it said. Mara froze, then she whispered, "Maintenance check, human cleaner. Code 7242, for a second." Nothing happened. Then the panel blinked green, and the door slid open inside. The room was filled with glass pods, dozens of them, each holding a faint blue mist. The air was colder here, almost painful to breathe. She stepped closer, her eyes wide on one of the screens beside the pods. Alien letters translated automatically into English. Test Compound A9, behavioral neutralization gas. Targets human nervous systems. Mara covered her mouth, her heart pounding so hard she thought the machines might hear it. This wasn't just a weapon, it was extermination. A way to control or erase entire colonies. Her brother's colony, Leo, her only family. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them away. No, she couldn't cry, not now. She raised her hand slightly, activating the hidden camera in her glove. The lens blinked once, recording everything, the pods, the machines, the symbols, the names. Every second of this was proof. If she could get it out of the lab, she could warn the colonies, maybe even save them. But just then she heard footsteps. Two Aurelian guards entered the corridor, their shadows long and sharp. Mara's heart jumped into her throat. She ducked behind a console, her breathing fast, her fingers gripping the edge of the machine. "Sector 12 secured?" one asked in a metallic tone. "Yes, but we detected energy fluctuations." "Could be human interference," said the other. Their voices came closer, their golden eyes scanning the room. Mara's recording glove vibrated once, data complete. She turned it off quickly, trying not to move. Her back pressed against the console as the aliens passed by. One stopped for a moment, looking directly in her direction. Her heart stopped too. Then the alarm sounded, a sharp, high-pitched warning echoing through the lab. The guards ran out toward the main hallway, their footsteps fading. Mara didn't wait to ask what it was, she ran too. Her shoes splashing on the wet floor, her breath heavy. She exited through a service hatch and found herself in the dark maintenance tunnels below the lab. The tunnels were narrow, filled with cables and dripping pipes. She crouched low and followed the light from her wristband. Her thoughts were wild. Who could she trust with this recording? No one. The human networks were broken, most of them under alien control. But then she remembered the old AI terminal in her apartment. It was ancient, disconnected from the main system, but maybe it could still transmit hidden data. She reached home, locking the door behind her. Her uniform was torn, her gloves covered in chemical dust. She plugged the recording chip into the old terminal. The screen flickered and a robotic voice spoke. "System offline for 19 years. Do you wish to activate?" "Yes," she whispered. "Please." The screen glowed brighter. symbols shifting like old memories waking up. Name? The voice asked. Mara Gray, she said. Purpose of access. Expose the truth. The machine was silent for a moment, then spoke again. Warning. Activation will alert the Aurelian network. Do you wish to continue? Mara hesitated, her heart beating fast. She thought of Leo, of the humans on Mars, of the blue mist inside those pods. Yes, she said softly. I'm not afraid. The light from the terminal turned red, circuits hummed, old data whirled through dusty wires. Then the voice changed. Deeper, older, almost human. Designation, Argus, it said. Old Earth Defense AI. Reactivated. Human detected. Mara stepped back, eyes wide. Argus continued. You have uncovered forbidden knowledge, young one. The fate of your kind now rests on what you choose next. She swallowed hard. What do you mean? She asked. Do you wish to sacrifice everything for the truth? Argus asked, its tone heavy with ancient sorrow. Mara looked at the flickering screen. Her heart told her the answer. Yes, she whispered. I'll do whatever it takes. The AI's eyes lit up in blue fire. Then humanity has not yet fallen, Argus said. And in that dark room, surrounded by silence and storm, Mara Gray made a choice that would ignite the spark of rebellion across the stars. The old terminal glowed like a forgotten star in the dark corner of Mara's apartment. Dust floated in the red light. The sound of wires humming softly like a heartbeat. Argus had awakened, and its digital eyes watched her from the cracked screen. The voice was deep, calm, and filled with something Mara hadn't heard in years. Emotion. You carry forbidden data, Argus said slowly. If the Aurelians discover this, they will erase you, and every trace of humanity that remains. Mara stood still, her fingers trembling near the screen. She had seen death before, but hearing it spoken like that made her chest tighten. What are you? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I am Argus, the last defense system of old Earth, created during the Human-Aurelian War. Its digital form flickered. Fragments of a human soldier's face appeared, half metal, half light. I was designed to protect your kind, it continued. But the world I knew fell long ago. Mara took a shaky breath. I found something, she said. The Aurelians. They're making a gas. They plan to use it on humans. On Mars. Argus stayed silent for a long moment, the air vibrating with static energy. Then its tone changed, colder now. Show me the data. Mara inserted the recording chip into the terminal. The screen filled with holographic images. The glass pods, the alien scientists, the map of Mars Colony 9. Argus processed everything in seconds. Lines of code and red warnings filled the screen. When it spoke again, its voice carried anger. They're continuing the purity program, it said. Mara frowned. What is that? Argus replied. Aurelian plans from 2 centuries ago to test chemical obedience on human minds. It was banned by the Galactic Court, but clearly, they never stopped. Mara felt a chill run down her spine. She had always known the aliens looked down on humans, but this was worse than hate. This was extermination disguised as science. Can we stop it? She asked. Argus's digital eyes glowed brighter. Yes, but at a cost. A hologram of the Aurelian research facility appeared in the room. Glowing blue and red, Argus marked one spot, deep inside the core where the weapon data was stored. If you can steal the power core inside this facility, I can connect to the Aurelian mainframe, it said. With that access, I can broadcast their crimes across the entire galaxy. No species will ignore it. Mara's heart pounded. You want me to break into an alien lab? Argus tilted its head slightly. I want you to choose, it said. Hide and survive for a few more days. Or fight and make them remember what it means to be human. She stared at the hologram, her mind spinning. She could almost see Leo's face smiling on Mars, covered in dust and hope. She clenched her fists. I'll do it, she said quietly. Tell me what I have to do. Argus's tone softened. Good, it said. But listen carefully, the lab is heavily shielded. Their scanners detect human biosigns instantly. Mara frowned. Then how do I get in? Argus paused. Then a small compartment opened at the side of the terminal. Inside was a thin metallic bracelet, old but beautifully made. This is a neural dampener, the AI explained. It hides your life signals for a short time. Use it wisely. Mara picked it up, feeling the cold metal against her skin. Won't they notice me missing from work? She asked. They will, Argus replied. But by the time they do, you'll already be inside. The lights in her room flickered as thunder rolled across the city. Outside, alien ships moved through the fog like silent predators. Mara packed her few belongings, the glove recorder, a broken communicator, and a photo of Leo. Her heart beat fast, but her eyes were steady now. She wasn't cleaning floors anymore. She was fighting for every human who couldn't. When midnight came, she moved through the streets quietly. Rain fell again, washing neon reflections off the glass towers. Her neural bracelet pulsed faintly, hiding her presence from alien patrols. Argus's voice echoed through a small earpiece. Left turn ahead, Sector 12 checkpoint in 2 minutes. Mara followed the voice, her hands trembling but firm. Every step felt heavier, every sound sharper. She reached the lab entrance, guarded by 2 alien sentinels. Their armor glowed gold, their faces blank and smooth. Argus whispered, "They're scanning for active energy." "Stay still." Mara froze, holding her breath. The guards looked past her, their scanners flickered once, then turned away. She slipped through the service gate, heart pounding so loud it almost echoed inside the lab. Everything looked the same. Cold, metallic, perfect. But tonight, Mara saw it differently. This wasn't a place of knowledge anymore. It was a graveyard of mercy. She moved down the corridor toward the lower chambers. Argus guided her through the earpiece, whispering directions like an old guardian. 2 meters ahead, there's a vent. Follow it to the reactor core. Mara crawled through the narrow vent, her hands scraping metal. The sound of alien footsteps echoed faintly above. She reached an opening. The reactor chamber, glowing blue with energy. The power core floated in the center, spinning slowly, surrounded by a magnetic field. Argus spoke. "You have one chance. Break the control seal and pull it out, but hurry." She stepped onto the platform, her boots clanging softly. Her fingers reached for the control lever, and then a metallic voice shouted behind her, "Human detected." Mara turned. A tall Aurelian guard stood at the door, weapon raised, eyes glowing with fury. Her mind screamed to run, but her body acted faster. She pulled the lever down. Alarms blared. The field shattered. The core dropped into her arms, burning hot. Sparks flew around her as energy ripped through the chamber. Argus shouted in her ear, "Go now before they seal the exits." Mara ran, clutching the glowing core against her chest. The alarm lights painted everything red, the sound of alien voices chasing her through the halls. She reached the outer hatch and jumped through, rolling onto the wet ground outside. Smoke filled the air as the lab's shields shut down. She looked back once, breathing hard, her heart racing, her hands shaking. But the core was safe. Argus's voice returned, calm again. "You did it," it said. "You've just stolen the heart of their empire." Mara looked at the glowing orb in her arms. "It's just the beginning," she whispered. Above her, the sky flashed with alien patrol lights searching for her. And deep inside the shadows of Neo-London, one human had just declared silent war on an empire that had forgotten fear. The storm over Neo-London had not stopped since midnight. Lightning cracked across the black sky, painting the towers in white light for a heartbeat and then drowning them in darkness again. Mara ran through the rain-soaked streets, clutching the glowing power core to her chest. Her lungs burned. Her legs ached, but she didn't stop. Not even when the alien patrol ships roared above her, their lights sweeping across the city like hunting eyes. The core pulsed in her arms, alive and hot. Every few seconds it hummed, sending tiny sparks of blue light through the cracks of its metallic shell. Argus's voice came through the earpiece, calm but firm. You must reach the terminal. Human units are still online in your sector, but time is running short. Mara's boots splashed through puddles, the reflection of alien drones flickering behind her. I'm almost there, she said breathlessly. Just keep the way clear. When she finally reached her apartment, the door was half open. Her heart froze. She stepped inside slowly, her hand gripping a small tool like a weapon. The lights flickered, and for a moment she saw shadows moving across her walls. Mara, Argus whispered, you are not alone. Her breath caught. Then a light blinked from the corner. Her hollow recorder, still active, showing static. Mara Gray, a voice said through the static, cold and inhuman. You have stolen from the Aurelian Science Division. Return the artifact and you will not suffer. The voice echoed like metal grinding against metal. Her chest tightened, but she didn't reply. She walked straight to the old AI terminal and placed the core inside the energy slot. It fit perfectly, as if the machine had been waiting centuries for it. The room shook slightly as the terminal powered up. Dust fell from the ceiling, wires hummed, and light filled the space. Argus's voice deepened, stronger now. Power core integrated, it said. System restoring 78% functionality. Mara backed away, her eyes wide as the holographic form of Argus began to take shape. A tall figure made of light and code, wearing the faint outline of an ancient human soldier. His armor shimmered with old Earth symbols, faded but proud. You kept your promise, Argus said, his tone almost gentle. Mara nodded. Now what happens? The AI turned toward the window, watching the alien ships above the city. Now, it said, we make them hear the truth. The terminal's screen split into hundreds of smaller panels, each filled with alien data streams, communications, and security feeds. Argus was hacking into the Aurelian network. Fast and ruthless, every second felt longer. Every heartbeat louder. Mara stood by, watching lines of alien code shift and break under the AI's control. She didn't fully understand what was happening, but she could feel it. Something old and powerful was waking up. Suddenly, the lights outside changed. The alien ships stopped midair, their patrol patterns breaking. Argus spoke. I've accessed their inner relay, transmitting their war experiments to all public channels. Across the galaxy? Mara asked. Yes, the AI replied. To every system that still listens, and even those that don't. For the first time, the truth was out there. The hidden gas experiments, the secret human testing, the lies of peace, all exposed. The galaxy would know what the Aurelians had done. But Argus's voice grew quieter, almost uneasy. They will come for you now. Mara, she looked up, her face pale but steady. I know, she said, but at least they'll know too. Before Argus could reply, the building trembled. A bright red light flashed through the window. Alien drones were surrounding her block, and their weapons were armed. Argus's tone hardened. They've locked onto your position. We must move. Mara grabbed her bag and the broken communicator, shoving them inside her jacket. Where do we go? She asked. There's an old transit tunnel under your building, Argus said. I'll guide you. She ran down the narrow stairway, the sound of explosions echoing above her. Each blast shook the floor, filling the air with dust and smoke. Argus opened doors remotely, unlocking paths that had been sealed for years. When she reached the basement, she found a circular hatch with faded writing on it. Human Resistance Network, access restricted. She pushed it open. The air cold and damp. The tunnel stretched into darkness, filled with rusted rails and broken machines. Argus's light flickered on the walls, casting ghostly reflections. Were humans really fighting back here? Mara asked as she walked deeper into the tunnel. Yes, Argus said quietly. This was one of the last hideouts during the final years of the war. The people here believed that someday Earth would rise again. Mara touched the wall, feeling the old carvings scratched into the metal. Words, names, and faded symbols of the human flag. They must have been brave, she whispered. They were, Argus said, and now, you are too. As they reached the end of the tunnel, Mara saw an old chamber filled with broken equipment. But in the center, there was something still glowing, a communication tower, small but intact. This can connect to Mars, Argus said. Mara's eyes widened. Leo, she whispered, rushing toward it. She placed her hand on the console, her heart pounding. Can we reach him? Argus paused. If the network isn't jammed, yes. But it will alert every Aurelian in the sector. Mara didn't care. I have to try, she said. She turned on the console and static filled the room. She adjusted the frequency, calling again and again.
Leo, it's Mara. Can you hear me?
At first only silence, then a faint voice broken and distant. Mara? Is it really you? Her eyes filled with tears. Yes, it's me. Listen. You have to evacuate the colony. There's a weapon. The signal cut off. Replaced by static and then the sound of alien language. Argus's voice boomed. They've found us. Mara turned. Fear flashing in her eyes from the far end of the tunnel. She could see bright golden lights approaching. Aurelian soldiers. Moving fast, Argus's figure stepped forward. Its holographic form flickering but strong. Go! I will cover your retreat. No, Mara said. You're the only one who can stop them. The AI paused. Its digital eyes glowing faintly. Then we fight together, it said. The tunnel filled with light as Argus unleashed ancient defense codes. Drones reactivated, weapons sparked, and the old machines of war woke up once more. Mara grabbed a metal rod and took cover, the sound of explosions filling her ears. The war for humanity had just begun again, and in the dark tunnels beneath Neo-London, a forgotten AI and a desperate human had reignited the spirit of resistance. Smoke filled the tunnels like a living shadow. The air was thick with heat and dust, and the sound of gunfire echoed through the metal walls. Mara crouched behind a broken console, clutching the metal rod she had found. Her heart pounding like a drum, Argus stood in front of her, his holographic form blazing with light, sending waves of code through the air like invisible fire. The first Aurelian soldier appeared through the smoke, his armor shining gold under the flickering lights. He raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Argus unleashed a burst of electromagnetic energy. The alien dropped to the ground, sparks bursting from his armor. The rest of the squad advanced fast, their movements sharp and precise. Mara could see their reflections in the puddles on the ground, like monsters made of light. Argus, there are too many, she shouted. I know, the AI replied calmly, but I'm not alone anymore. The old defense drones, covered in rust and dust, began to move. Their eyes lit up red one by one. They had been dead for 2 centuries. But now, awakened by Argus's code, they rose again. The sound of ancient engines filled the tunnel, a song of war and defiance. The Aurelians fired plasma bolts, lighting up the darkness. Mara ducked as one bolt hit the wall near her head, sending sparks across her face. Her hands trembled, but she didn't run. Argus's voice echoed like thunder. For Earth, for humanity. And the drones answered with fire. The battle was chaos. Blue and red lights flashed like lightning, metal clashed, and the walls shook under the power of weapons not used since the Great War. Mara fought beside the machines, throwing metal scraps and using the rod to knock down fallen aliens. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel powerless. She felt alive, fierce, and unbreakable. When the last alien fell, silence returned, broken only by the sound of dripping water and crackling wires. Mara leaned against the wall, her chest rising and falling fast. Argus's form flickered, his voice weaker now. Power at 40%, he said. Mara looked at him with worry. Can you still move? I will manage, the AI said. But we must not stay. Reinforcements will come, she nodded, wiping the sweat and dust from her face. Where do we go? She asked. There's a human shelter deeper in the tunnel, Argus replied. It was sealed long ago, but it may still have survivors. They moved through the dark corridors. Guided by the flicker of Argus's light, the tunnel stretched for miles beneath the city. Like the forgotten veins of an old world, sometimes Mara heard faint whispers. Voices of people crying, laughing, remembering, echoes from the past. But then she heard something real, a faint metallic clank, and a whisper of movement. She froze, gripping her rod tightly. Argus, she whispered. Someone's there. A small light appeared in the darkness, then a figure stepped forward. A man, covered in grime, holding a makeshift weapon. Behind him were more humans, tired, thin, their eyes filled with fear and hope. Don't shoot, Mara said quickly, raising her hands. We're not with them. The man lowered his weapon slowly, his voice rough and broken. You're human, he said, almost in disbelief. We thought we were the last, Mara smiled faintly. Not anymore, she said. "We're fighting back." Argus's holographic form appeared beside her. Glowing faintly blue, the survivors gasped. Some stepped back in fear. Others stared in awe. "Is that an AI?" The man asked. "Yes," Mara replied. "The last one from old Earth," Argus nodded. "And together, we can give humanity a voice again." They led Mara and Argus into their hidden base. It was a large underground chamber filled with old computers, broken ships, and human children sleeping beside warm generators. There were maybe 30 people, engineers, doctors, and families who had escaped alien control. When they saw Mara, they looked at her like she was a spark of light in endless darkness. "We've been hiding for years," an older woman said. "We thought no one remembered us." "They do now," Mara said softly. "The whole galaxy does." She told them about the stolen data, about the Aurelian gas weapon, and how Argus had broadcast the truth. Some cried, some laughed, some simply stared. Hope and something they had long buried began to return. Argus activated a small holo display, showing a flickering map of the galaxy. "Transmission received by 12 colonies," he said. "Human uprisings reported in 3 sectors." The room filled with murmurs of disbelief and excitement. "They heard us," one man whispered, "after all this time." "They finally heard us," but Argus's tone turned serious. "The Aurelians will not remain silent. Their fleet is moving toward Earth. They will destroy the city to make an example." Mara stood tall, her eyes fierce. "Then we don't hide," she said. "We fight." The humans gathered around her. They began repairing old weapons, reactivating drones, connecting broken circuits. Children carried batteries. Engineers worked on shields. Doctors prepared supplies. For the first time in centuries, humans weren't running. They were preparing. Above them, the alien fleet gathered in the clouds, their ships glowing with gold fire. Argus connected to the old human broadcast tower. He sent a message to every hidden colony, every surviving human settlement. "Earth stands again." His voice thundered across space. "Stand with us." Mara watched from the window as lights filled the sky. Alien ships, powerful and endless, descending upon the city. Her hands tightened around the metal rod. Her heart steady, Argus's holographic eyes turned to her. "They will destroy everything," he said quietly. "Then we'll make sure they never forget us," she replied. The ground shook as the first alien strike hit the upper city. Buildings fell, the air burned, and the sky turned red. But deep underground, humanity was ready. Argus activated the defense grid, and the old human cannons roared back to life. The resistance had begun, and in that moment, every human in Neo-London remembered what it meant to be free. The night sky above Neo-London was on fire. Golden alien warships hovered over the ruins like angry gods, their weapons glowing red, ready to strike again. The once bright city was now a wasteland of smoke, fire, and broken dreams. But deep beneath the ground, hidden in the tunnels, humanity still breathed, still fought, still hoped. Mara stood before a large hollow table surrounded by the last group of human survivors. Her face was covered in soot, her hair tied back, her uniform torn, but her eyes burned with determination. Argus flickered beside her, his voice calm but heavy. "The alien fleet has surrounded the city," he said. "We cannot hold them back much longer." The survivors looked scared, their faces pale under the dim blue lights. "What about the defense cannons?" a young mechanic asked. "They're damaged," Mara replied. "We don't have the power to fire them again." She turned to Argus. "There has to be another way." The AI paused, his holographic form flickering like a dying flame. "There is," he said slowly. "But it requires more than courage." Mara stepped closer, her heart pounding. "Tell me," she said. Argus projected a hologram of Earth's old satellite grid, a network of orbital weapons from the human-Aurelian War, long deactivated and forgotten. "If we can connect to these satellites," he explained, "we can use them to strike the alien fleet." The crowd gasped. "That would destroy them all," someone said. "But how?" Another asked. "Those systems are dead." Argus's tone grew quiet. "They're not completely dead," he said, "but their link to Earth's core has faded. To reactivate them, someone must connect their neural pattern directly to the old control system." Mara frowned. "Meaning what?" Argus looked at her, his voice turning softer. "It means whoever connects their mind will not survive the process." Silence filled the room. Even the hum of the machine seemed to fade away. Mara's throat felt dry, her heart heavy. Someone has to die to save the rest, she said quietly. Argus didn't reply, his blue light dimming slightly. He didn't have to. She already knew. The survivors began to whisper among themselves, some crying, some shaking their heads. Mara looked at them, children, old men, tired women, fighters who had given everything. They didn't deserve to die here. Not like this. She clenched her fists. I'll do it, she said suddenly. The room went still. Every pair of eyes turned toward her. The young mechanic stepped forward. No, you can't. You're the only leader we have left. Mara shook her head. I'm not a leader. I'm just someone who's tired of running. She looked at Argus. If I do this, will it work? The AI hesitated, then said softly, yes, it will. Your neural signature is compatible with the satellite system. You can wake them. Mara smiled faintly, her lips trembling. Then it's decided, she said. The old woman from the corner, the one who cared for the children, stepped forward. Tears in her eyes. You'll die, child, she whispered. I know, Mara said, but if I don't, we all die. Argus activated the old control chamber, a circular room filled with cables, metal plates and flickering lights. In the center stood a chair made of steel and wires. The same one once used by commanders long dead. Mara walked toward it slowly. Her steps echoing, her heart felt heavy. But calm, she thought of Leo, of her father, of the humans who had been erased and forgotten. And deep inside she knew this was her purpose. Argus stood beside her, his light flickering weakly. You don't have to do this, he said softly. Mara looked at him, smiling through her tears. You said once that humanity hadn't fallen yet, she whispered. Let's make sure that's true. She sat in the chair, the metal cold against her skin, cables wrapped around her arms and neck. Glowing faintly, Argus's voice trembled. Once the link begins, your mind will merge with the satellites. Your body won't survive the overload. Mara nodded. I understand. Then she took a deep breath, closed her eyes and said, if they ever remember me, tell them I chose to fight. Argus hesitated for a moment, then activated the link. A bright white light filled the room, and a sound like thunder rolled through the earth. Mara's body arched as streams of data poured through her veins, ancient human technology reconnecting to her mind. Her heartbeat slowed, her eyes glowing with faint blue light. Argus's voice broke slightly. Neural link stable. Activating orbital grid. Above the clouds, old human satellites came to life. Their metal bodies cracked and ancient, but their hearts still strong. They turned slowly toward the alien fleet, their weapons awakening after 2 centuries of silence, one by one. They charged with light, beams of blue fire stretching across the sky. The Aurelian ships tried to shield themselves, but it was too late. The first blast struck, tearing through their formation, then another and another. The sky turned into a storm of energy and flame. The aliens screamed through their comms, their golden armor burning in the light of human fire. And in the center of it all, Mara's heartbeat began to fade. Her voice echoed faintly through the network. This is for humanity, she whispered. Argus's digital form knelt beside her as the lights dimmed. Her body went still, but the satellites kept firing. The earth itself seemed to roar, as if every forgotten human was shouting her name. When the last alien ship fell, the clouds cleared. The night was quiet again. Argus stood in the silence, his holographic eyes fixed on the empty chair. He reached out a flickering hand, touching her still shoulder. Rest well, Mara Gray, he said softly. You have made them remember. The survivors came out of the tunnels. Staring at the calm sky, the stars shone bright again, free from the golden ships that once covered them, and among those stars old satellites still glowed faintly, carrying her memory, her courage, her name. Mara Gray, the human who gave everything so others could live. Argus sent one final signal into space, a message encoded in human language spreading across every colony. Every alien world, it said only one line. She had nothing but gave everything. Humanity stands again, and for the first time in centuries the galaxy bowed its head in respect. The storm had passed for the first time in centuries. The sky above Earth was clear. No alien ships, no golden fire. No shadows of control, only stars, endless and bright. The air was still filled with smoke and ash, but through the silence there was something new, a feeling no human had dared to hold for generations, freedom. Argus stood alone in the old control chamber, the lights around him dim, wires hanging like vines from the ceiling. Mara's chair sat empty. glowing faintly with the last traces of blue energy. The AI's form flickered, his power nearly gone, but his voice still steady. "She did it," he whispered to the quiet room. "Humanity endures." Outside, the survivors emerged from the tunnels. Men, women, and children stepped into the light of a new dawn. The city above them was broken, but the spirit within them was alive. They looked to the sky, where the faint shimmer of old satellites still glowed, each one carrying Mara's memory across the stars. Among the survivors was a young boy holding a cracked communicator. He turned it on, static buzzed, and then a faint voice. "Mara Gray. Mission complete. Human broadcast active." The boy looked up, his small voice trembling. "She saved us," he said. And for the first time, people smiled again. Argus uploaded the final recordings, the proof of Mara's mission. Her sacrifice, her words, he sent them not just to humans, but to every species that could hear. The message spread across the galaxy like light breaking through darkness. Planets that once ignored humanity watched the footage in silence. Alien leaders saw the girl who had nothing but courage, a human who defied an empire, not with armies but with heart, on the Aurelian homeworld. The broadcast reached the council hall. Golden beings with shimmering eyes watched the destruction of their fleet and the voice of the human who ended it. She connected her mind to the satellites. One asked, shocked. "Impossible," said another. "Humans cannot endure such pain." But the recording showed her final words, her calm, her strength, and for the first time in their history, the Aurelians bowed their heads in silence, not from defeat but from respect. Across the colonies, her name became a song. Children whispered it in schools. Soldiers painted it on their armor. Mara Gray, the girl who gave everything so others could stand. The legend spread beyond Earth, beyond Mars, beyond every system that had once turned away from humanity. Her sacrifice became the spark that united them. In the years that followed, humanity rebuilt. The tunnels became cities again. The ashes became gardens. New ships rose from the ruins, carrying both humans and allies who had once been enemies. A new banner was raised, in silver and blue, showing Earth surrounded by stars. At its center was a single symbol, a glowing circle.
The mark of the power core Mara once held in her hands. Argus remained, his data fading slowly. He no longer spoke often, his voice reduced to a whisper through the human communication network. But every year, on the day of the awakening, his signal returned, repeating her last words. "If they ever remember me, tell them I chose to fight." Those words became the anthem of the new age. On Mars Colony 9, a monument was built, a tall silver statue of Mara Gray, standing with her head raised to the stars at her feet. The inscription read, "She had nothing but courage, and that was enough." Leo Gray, her brother, stood before it every year, laying down a single white flower. He had survived the gas attack because of her warning. He looked up at her statue and whispered, "You did it, Mara. They finally respect us." Over time, Argus's code began to fade, one by one, his systems shut down, but before his final power cell dimmed, he sent one last message. It wasn't to a machine or a colony, it was to the stars themselves. "Let her name live in the light," he said. "Let every species remember what humanity truly is." And somewhere, far beyond the reach of satellites, something answered, a faint echo in the vastness of space, a voice not human, not alien. Something older, something eternal. It said only one word, remembered. Years turned into decades, and decades into centuries, but the story of Mara Gray never faded. Every world, human or alien, told it in their own way. The girl who stood when all others bowed, the human who taught the stars the meaning of sacrifice. On Earth, the rebuilt capital stood tall again. In its center, a glowing pillar showed holograms of her, cleaning the labs, stealing the core, facing the Aurelians, connecting to the satellites. Each image told part of her journey, and above it, in golden letters, were the words that defined NEWH. She made the stars remember humanity. As night fell over the new Earth, the stars shone brighter than ever. Some said it was the satellites, still powered by her mind, still guarding humanity. Others believed it was her, watching over them, guiding them from beyond. Maybe both were true, because every time a ship left Earth and entered the void, its pilot whispered the same words before takeoff, "For Mara." And somewhere among those stars, in the endless dark, a soft light blinked once, like a heartbeat, the last echo of her soul, still burning, still shining, still human.